In a narrative that could easily be mistaken for the pages of a suspense novel, the story of Bennie Wint unfolds, capturing the imagination with its blend of mystery and the unexpected. In the fall of 1989, the serene coastal setting of Daytona Beach, Florida, became the backdrop for a baffling, vanishing act. At the heart of this perplexing drama was Bennie Wint, a man whose disappearance would leave a trail of questions and a family grappling with uncertainty. Worst of all, Wint was running from a threat that was not even real. Wint's life, up until his disappearance, was an everyday tale of an ordinary man. Known for his quiet demeanor and a routine life, there seemed to be little to suggest the bewildering turn his story would soon take. Yet, beneath this ordinary exterior, lay a decision so unexpected that it would transform his life into a riddle that would remain unsolved for decades. On a day like any other, Wint set out for what was supposed to be a leisurely swim at Daytona Beach, but vanished without a trace. The suddenness of his disappearance sent shockwaves through his family and the community. A search ensued, with hopes fading as hours turned into days and no sign of Wint emerged. The narrative of a simple swim turning tragic was accepted, a conclusion that brought closure to a seemingly straightforward case. However, the true story behind Wint's disappearance was far from the accepted narrative. In a revelation that would come to light years later, it was discovered that Wint was not a casualty of an unfortunate swimming accident, but had intentionally orchestrated his own vanishing act. This stunning revelation redefined the story from a tragic disappearance to a deliberate escape from one life into another. The discovery that Wint had been alive all this time, living under a different identity, turned the case on its head. The man believed to have been lost to the sea was, in fact, navigating a different course, one that led him far from his previous existence. His successful evasion of detection for years added layers of intrigue and complexity to his story. The revelation of Wint's new life brought a mix of emotions, astonishment at the lengths he went to start anew, and relief for a family that had long grieved a loss that never was. His reemergence into the public eye was as dramatic as his disappearance, unraveling a mystery that many had thought was long solved. As we delve into the captivating tale of Bennie Wint, we traverse a narrative that challenges our understanding of identity and the human desire for reinvention. Wint's story, emerging from the sun-kissed shores of Florida, serves as a testament to the unpredictable nature of life and the extraordinary lengths to which some will go to rewrite their own stories. The Disappearance. The atmosphere in Daytona Beach on September 23, 1989, presented a stark contrast to the unfolding events of Bennie Wint's vanishing. The usual tranquility of the coastal town, with its sunlit shores and serene ocean waves, set the scene for what was initially an ordinary day. Wint, then 31, had settled into life in Daytona Beach with his fiancée and her daughter, their lives intertwined with the everyday rhythms of this Floridian paradise. That day, Wint's actions seemed unremarkable. His decision to go for a swim at the beach was typical for a resident of this sun-kissed town. The beach, a place of relaxation and joy for many, was an integral part of life in Daytona Beach, making his choice of activity entirely ordinary. Yet, this routine aspect of coastal living would soon become the backdrop for his mysterious disappearance. As the day progressed, the initial lack of concern from Wint's fiancée gradually shifted to unease. The passage of hours without any word from Wint was out of character for the quiet, unassuming man known to his family. The beach, a place usually associated with leisure and calm, became the center of a perplexing mystery. His fiancée's worry escalated as the day turned into evening with no sign of Wint. This transformation of a regular day into an alarming situation was marked by her decision to contact the authorities, a step that underscored the seriousness of the situation. The police response was prompt, recognizing the urgency of a missing person case. Their search efforts were concentrated around the beach area, the last known location of Wint. This search marked the beginning of a journey into the unknown, as the authorities, along with Wint's family, grappled with the sudden and inexplicable absence of a man who had simply set out for a swim on an otherwise normal day in Daytona Beach. The search. The news of his disappearance spread quickly through Daytona Beach, a community unaccustomed to such mysteries. The local police, along with Coast Guard and volunteers, launched an extensive search operation. They cordoned off sections of the beach where Wint was last seen and conducted a thorough search of the area. Coast Guard boats patrolled the waters, their crews scanning the sea with a sense of urgency, while helicopters buzzed overhead, providing an aerial view of the expansive search zone. Volunteers played a crucial role in the search efforts. Locals who knew Wint, along with others moved by his fiancée's distress, joined the search parties. They combed the beach, nearby woods, and streets, calling out Wint's name and asking passers-by if they had seen anything unusual. Flyers with Wint's photo and description were distributed widely, and his information was broadcast on local radio and television stations, urging the public to report any sightings or information. As the search continued with no success, speculation and concern among the local community grew. People pondered various possibilities. Had Wint drowned, suffered an accident, or had something more sinister occurred? The lack of clues and clear evidence made the situation all the more perplexing. Wint's family was plunged into despair. His fiancée, grappling with shock and fear, held onto the hope that he would be found safe. The local media picked up the story, broadcasting Wint's description and the circumstances of his disappearance, urging the public to come forward with any information. As the days passed, the initial rush of activity and hope gradually gave way to a sobering realization. Despite the exhaustive search efforts, no trace of Wint was found, no personal belongings, no signs of a struggle, nothing to indicate what might have happened to him. The possibility that he had drowned became increasingly likely, a tragic conclusion to what had started as a routine day at the beach. The mood among the search teams and the community shifted from urgent action to somber acceptance. The lack of clues or leads left the rescuers with little to go on. The Coast Guard, after days of intensive searching, began to scale back their operations, and the police started to consider the likelihood of closing the case with no resolution. The revelation. The discovery of Bennie Wint's survival, 2 decades after his presumed death off Daytona Beach, unraveled a narrative long accepted as truth, casting a new light on the events of 1989. In a twist that seemed more suited to fiction, it was a routine traffic stop in North Carolina in 2009 that set this revelation in motion. In what began as a routine stop for a minor traffic violation, a deeper mystery unexpectedly unraveled. The man pulled over, presenting himself as William Sweet, offered standard identification documents to the officers. At first glance, everything appeared normal, the usual exchange during a traffic stop. However, the officers, adhering to standard protocol, conducted a routine check of the documents. This check, a common procedure in traffic stops, soon revealed something amiss. There were subtle discrepancies in Sweet's identification that didn't align with typical records. Curiosity piqued, the officers decided to investigate further. They knew from experience that such inconsistencies, though small, could indicate deeper issues. Their training and intuition guided them to pursue a more thorough verification. It was this attention to detail and adherence to procedure that led to a pivotal decision: to conduct a fingerprint analysis of the man known as William Sweet. The fingerprint analysis was a turning point in this encounter. It's a process that can unveil critical information about an individual's identity. In this case, the results of the analysis were nothing short of astonishing. The fingerprints of William Sweet didn't match any records for that name. Instead, they matched those of Bennie Wint, a man who had mysteriously vanished 2 decades earlier, presumed to have drowned off the coast of Daytona Beach. This revelation was staggering in its implications. For 20 years, Bennie Wint had successfully lived under the radar, assuming the identity of William Sweet. His life as Sweet had been a carefully constructed reality, built on the foundations of a fabricated identity. The discovery that he was, in fact, Bennie Wint, alive and not a victim of a tragic accident, was a narrative twist akin to the climax of a gripping novel. The world had believed him lost, yet here he was, unveiled by the due diligence of law enforcement in a routine traffic stop. This moment marked the end of Wint's 2-decade-long anonymity. and the beginning of a new chapter filled with questions about his past, his decisions, and the life he had led under a false name. The impact of this revelation on Wint's family was profound and multi-layered. They had endured 2 decades of grief and acceptance, believing Wint to be lost to the sea. The sudden emergence of Wint as a living individual elicited a complex mix of emotions, a surge of relief and joy, tangled with confusion, anger, and a deep sense of betrayal. The narrative they had come to terms with, that of an accidental drowning, had abruptly shifted to a more painful reality of deliberate disappearance and deception. The story of Bennie Wint's disappearance and unexpected return is one marked by profound emotional turmoil, particularly for his fiancée and her daughter. When Wint vanished, presumed dead, it left a deep and lasting scar on their lives. His fiancée had to navigate the arduous journey of grieving for a partner who she believed was gone forever, while also providing stability and support for her daughter. The daughter grew up with the heavy burden of loss, a shadow cast over her formative years by the absence of a figure she had likely come to regard as a part of her future family. The news of Wint's return, therefore, was not just shocking, but deeply unsettling. For his fiancée, it was as if a ghost had returned to life, upending the narrative of loss and grief she had constructed to cope with his absence. The mixture of emotions, relief, anger, betrayal, would have been overwhelming. There was likely a sense of betrayal and deep hurt upon learning that Wint's disappearance was a choice, not a tragedy. The realization that he had lived all those years without any contact, without regard for the emotional devastation he left behind, would have been a bitter pill to swallow. For the daughter, the situation was equally complex. His sudden reappearance would challenge any narrative she had been told or had created about him. The feelings of abandonment and confusion would be significant. Children often internalize such traumas, and Wint's return might have resurrected questions about her own worth and why he chose to leave. As a family, they were thrust into a whirlwind of emotional reevaluation and adjustment. There was a need to reconcile the past, the memories of a lost loved one, with the present reality of Wint's inexplicable choice and return. This process would likely have involved intense discussions, emotional confrontations, and a search for understanding and closure. Wint's return was not just a reunion, it was a reopening of old wounds, a challenge to the narrative of loss they had lived with, and a test of their capacity to forgive and move forward. The impact of his decision to disappear and then return years later left indelible marks on his family, reshaping their lives in ways they could never have anticipated. The broader public's reaction mirrored this complexity. The community of Daytona Beach, along with others who heard the news, were taken aback. Wint's story, long perceived as a somber tale of untimely loss, had morphed into a narrative of intrigue and subterfuge. The general public found themselves grappling with questions of motive and method. How had Wint successfully fabricated his death, and what had driven him to such lengths of deception? The new life. When Bennie Wint was unexpectedly discovered, he candidly shared the depth of his predicament in 1989, which had compelled him to orchestrate his own disappearance. Overwhelmed by impending drug charges in Florida, Wint was haunted by the daunting prospect of incarceration. This looming threat, combined with an acute sense of desperation, led him to believe that vanishing was his only respite from a future he found unbearable. However, it turns out that his fears of being pursued for drug charges were unfounded. Wint believed that the authorities in South Carolina were after him because of his involvement in a large drug ring. However, Sergeant Wyatt, who was involved in his case, believed that Wint's concerns were based on paranoia rather than fact. None of Wint's supposed activities with the drug ring were on public record, and he wasn't wanted on charges anywhere in the U.S. This revelation adds a layer of complexity to his story, where his drastic actions were based on a misperception of his legal situation. Believing he was being pursued by authorities, Wint detailed the careful orchestration of his disappearance, selecting Daytona Beach for its believability as a place where a swimmer could vanish without a trace. He meticulously enacted his plan, thoroughly erasing every vestige of his previous identity and life. On that day, he left behind everything familiar, stepping into an uncertain void of his own creation. After faking his death, Wint embarked on a journey to North Carolina, deliberately choosing a location where he had no prior connections or ties. It was here that he began the arduous task of reinventing himself. He assumed the identity of William Sweet, a carefully chosen alias devoid of any links to his past life. The process of establishing this new persona was gradual and required great attention to detail to avoid arousing suspicion. He painstakingly acquired new documents and crafted a believable yet inconspicuous background for William Sweet. Adapting to life as William Sweet presented stark contrast to his former existence. Wint had to continually navigate his new reality, ensuring the stability of the facade he had constructed. He sought employment in sectors that demanded minimal background scrutiny, all the while maintaining a low profile to evade detection. Within his new community, Wint, now known as William Sweet, cultivated a reputation as a reserved and industrious person. He slowly built relationships, integrating into the fabric of his new environment, and even began a new family, all under the shadow of his assumed identity. These relationships, though founded on untruths, were an integral part of his new existence. Wint contended that despite the foundational deception, he endeavored to lead a life of integrity as Sweet, steering clear of actions that might attract public or legal attention. Wint's disclosure of his life post-disappearance stirred a complex dialogue about identity, ethics, and the implications of starting over. He acknowledged the hurt inflicted upon his family, admitting the selfish nature of his choice to disappear. Nevertheless, he also reflected on the sense of relief and tranquility he found in his new life, liberated from the anxieties that had once overwhelmed him. The unearthing of Wint's truth served as a profound turning point for him. For years, he had carried the weight of his hidden truth, living a life built upon a foundational lie. His confession and confrontation with the reality of his actions marked a significant release from years of living under an assumed identity. This revelation not only brought closure to his long-held secret, but also allowed him a chance at redemption and an opportunity to reconcile with his past. Wint's story, as it unfolded upon his discovery, was a tapestry of fear, desperation, and the human capacity for reinvention. It highlighted the lengths to which individuals might go to escape their realities and the intricate web of lies that can ensue from one drastic decision. His journey from Bennie Wint to William Sweet and back again was a profound testament to the complexities of human decisions and the enduring impact they can have on multiple lives. Join the conversation. Drop a comment to share your thoughts and insights. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating content. Thanks for tuning in to Really Unreal. Join us next time as we cover the case of Casey Nicole Swenson. This fictional identity, crafted by American Debbie Swenson, captured the attention of many. What motivated Debbie to fabricate this online persona, and what consequences did she ultimately face? Stay curious, stay connected. Stay with Really Unreal.